I always believed silence was harmless, that it was just the absence of noise, just an empty space the world occasionally slipped into, when nothing important was happening. But that belief shattered the moment. I returned to Copper Ridge and was greeted not by quiet, but by a silence so heavy it felt as if the town itself was holding its breath, watching me with a pair of unseen eyes I'd spent 8 years trying to forget. I never thought I'd set foot here again. Not after the night Lily vanished and the world yanked the ground from beneath me so violently that I never quite learned how to stand straight again. But last night, as I sat alone in my dim apartment halfway across the state, I heard her voice clear, trembling, unmistakably, hers whisper my name from behind me. When I spun around, the room was empty, but the window was open, the curtains swaying, and the cold wind carried a second whisper with it, come back. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't lock the door. I simply grabbed my keys and drove through the night like a man being pulled by a rope tied around his lungs, as if the darkness itself wanted to drag me home to finish something I never understood, something the town tried to bury with a mixture of pity and suspicion that left scars deeper than the loss itself. When I crossed the rusted Copper Ridge town sign, the same hollow sensation returned, the one that lived beneath my ribs like a parasite, the one that always warned me I wasn't alone. And as I pulled into the cracked parking lot of the abandoned elementary school, the last place Lily was seen, the air thickened in a way that made my skin prickle, as if time here moved differently, slower, like a wound that never healed properly. The school looked the same, boarded windows, graffiti, weeds swallowing the playground. Yet something was undeniably different, though I couldn't tell if it was the building or me. Maybe both. I stepped out of the truck, gravel crunching beneath my boots, and that's when I saw the swing set, the same pair of rusted chains Lily used to cling to with her small hands, swaying even though there wasn't a breeze, moving back and forth like someone had just jumped off seconds earlier. My chest ached. I approached slowly, every step pushing through memories I'd tried to drown for nearly a decade. The police had searched every inch of this place. Neighbors had formed lines in the woods. Drones had scanned the mountains, but nothing ever surfaced. Nothing except rumors. Rumors that the school had secrets long before my daughter disappeared. Rumors of a basement no one remembered building. Rumors of children hearing things at night. Rumors that I dismissed as small-town paranoian till the day Lily was gone. And now, staring at that empty swing, hearing the faint metallic creak echo against the brick walls, I wondered how many of those rumors were warnings I refused to hear. I walked toward the school entrance, expecting the doors to be locked like always, but they swung open before I even reached for them, drifting inward with a slow groan that felt almost deliberate. Dust floated in the air like falling ash, illuminated by the flickering hallway lights that shouldn't have been working at all. The school had been closed for years. The power cut, the circuits ripped out, yet the lights hummed faintly, the way they used to when I'd walk Lily to class in the mornings before work. I took a cautious step forward, and instantly the smell hit me. Still dust, mildew, and beneath it something sharper, something achingly familiar. Strawberry shampoo. Lily's shampoo. My breath caught, and for a second I felt weightless, like my bones had dissolved. The scent grew stronger as I walked deeper into the hallway. And that's when I passed the first message, graffiti sprayed across the wall in hurried black strokes. We remember what you forgot. My stomach knotted. I touched the letters, half expecting the paint to smear onto my fingers. but it was bone dry, old, yet I'd never seen it before. No one had mentioned it. No one had updated the police logs. Why would they? They had stopped caring years ago. Everyone except me. I followed the scent toward the old music room, and with each step the air seemed to pulse, growing warmer, almost humid, as though the walls themselves were breathing shallowly in and out. The door stood slightly open. I pushed it gently and froze. A single desk sat in the center of the room beneath a flickering fluorescent light. On the seat lay my daughter's missing poster, creased, weather-worn, but unmistakably real. The same poster I'd taped to every streetlight in town, begging anyone, everyone, for help. But this one had been altered. Someone had circled Lily's eyes in red marker, thick and messy, and scrawled beneath it in jagged handwriting. Look again. My pulse roared so loudly I barely heard my own breathing. I lifted the poster with shaking hands, and for the first time in years, truly studied her, eyes not with a father's grief, but with the detached focus of someone forced to confront the impossible. That's when I saw it, a faint reflection, in both pupils, something round, metallic, with lines etched across it like symbols, like circuitry, like a mask inches from her face the moment the picture was taken. My mind raced. Had that always been there? Why didn't anyone notice? Why didn't I notice? The fluorescent light above me popped loudly, sending a crackle across the ceiling, and before I could react, the room plunged into a momentary darkness. In that half-second, I heard it. Soft footsteps, running, childlike, right behind me. When the light flickered back on, the room was empty. My throat tightened. Fear and hope mixed inside me like poison and honey. It was then I heard the faintest whisper, thin, fragile, floating from the hallway. My name. I stumbled toward the sound, heart slamming against my ribs. The whisper led me past classrooms, past peeling mural paintings, past bulletin boards still showing faded welcome back, signs from years ago. As I turned the last corner, the whisper stopped abruptly, leaving an echo that seemed to twist in the air. I stood before the boiler room door slightly open despite being sealed shut the last time investigators were here. Warm air seeped through the crack, carrying with it a low mechanical hum. I pushed the door open and felt heat rush against my face. A staircase descended into the shadows. I swallowed hard and stepped down, feeling my body shake with something deeper than fear, something like recognition. Halfway down, my phone buzzed violently. Unknown number. Against every instinct, I answered. A distorted voice hissed through the line. You shouldn't be here. My skin crawled. Who is this? The only response was shaky breathing, followed by a second whisper, slower, cutting through me like a blade. She's still here. The call dropped. The hum below grew louder. When I reached the bottom, steam hissed from old pipes like exhaling serpents, and a dim emergency light glowed in the center of the room. My eyes locked onto something small on the floor. Something pink. A sneaker. Lily's sneaker. The exact one she wore the night she disappeared. My knees buckled as I picked it up. It was warm. Inside was a folded note written in the uneven scrawl of a child. Daddy, they found me. The world tilted. And before I could make sense of those 4 devastating words, the emergency light blinked out. The darkness swallowed everything. And in the black, inches from my ear, a tiny voice whispered, "Don't turn around." For a moment so thin it could barely be measured by time, I forgot how to breathe. because the whisper behind me, soft, trembling, impossibly familiar, felt as though it slid straight into my spine and froze every nerve inside me. And as the darkness swallowed the boiler room completely, I clenched my jaw to stop my teeth from chattering, terrified that any movement, any sound, would shatter whatever fragile thing hovered behind me. I wanted to turn around, I needed to, but the voice, that small, fractured plea of "don't turn around," carried a desperation that sounded exactly like Lily when she was scared of thunderstorms, when she'd crawl into my arms and whisper that the lightning felt like the sky breaking in half. So instead I whispered back, barely forming the words, "Lily, is that you?" At first, there was only vibrating silence, but then tiny fingers brushed the back of my hand, cold as running water, and every bone in my body screamed to grab her and pull her close. Yet something deeper warned me not to move too fast, that whatever stood inches behind me wasn't entirely my daughter, or wasn't entirely alive. The emergency light flickered on for a fraction of a second, just enough to cast a warped shadow across the wall, a small silhouette, a child's shape, but before I could look closer, darkness swallowed us again, and the whisper returned, shaken this time, strained as though she were fighting something. "Daddy, they're coming." My blood turned to ice. "Who's coming?" I whispered. Instead of an answer, I heard footsteps above us, heavy ones, then a second set, then more, like a crowd gathering at the entrance of the boiler room. The staircase creaked under the weight. Panic surged through me so violently it felt like it snapped something loose inside my chest. I grabbed blindly in the darkness until my fingers brushed warm skin, Lily's hand. I didn't think. I just pulled her toward me, ignoring her tiny gasp, and sprinted deeper into the boiler room, where faint red light pulsed behind a rusted metal door I'd never seen before. The footsteps descended the stairs, slow and deliberate, as though whoever or whatever was coming already knew exactly where we were hiding. My heart hammered as I shoved the metal door open, dragging Lily inside, and slammed it shut just as a low, guttural voice echoed through the darkness of the boiler room. "He's here." Inside the metal door was a narrow tunnel lined with old conduits and half-functional lights that flickered in a sickly heartbeat rhythm. Lily's hand still gripped mine, trembling, and when I finally knelt down to her level, desperate to see her face, she stepped back into the shadows. "Not yet," she whispered. "You won't understand yet." Her voice, God, her voice was the same and not the same, softer, older somehow, like she'd lived a lifetime in the years since she disappeared. "Lily, please," I begged, my hands shaking. "I need to see you." She shook her head again. "If you look before they're done, it'll hurt." My stomach twisted. Who's doing this to you?" Her breath hitched, a fragile sound echoing off the tunnel walls. "The ones who live underneath," she said. "The ones who choose." A cold shiver climbed up my spine. "Choose what?" She swallowed hard. "Children, like me." Before I could react, distant metallic grinding echoed down the tunnel. Lily gasped and yanked my arm. "We have to go now." We ran through the claustrophobic passageway, the red lights pulsing faster as though detecting movement. My chest burned. Sweat mixed with the dust in the air. Behind us, the grinding grew louder, closer, accompanied now by what sounded like multiple voices whispering at once, whispering in a language that made my ears ache, like the words were too sharp, too heavy for the human mind. We reached a junction where the tunnel split into 3 passageways. Lily hesitated for the first time, eyes darting between them, even though I still couldn't fully see her. "This is wrong," she whispered. "They changed the paths." My breath shook. "Who changed them?" She squeezed my hand painfully tight. "They did. They know you're here now." Suddenly, the whispers behind us faded into a sudden, jarring silence. Then, footsteps. But not rushed, not frantic, slow, confident. Someone who didn't need to hurry to catch us. Lily pulled me toward the leftmost tunnel, but before we moved, the emergency lights down that corridor flickered and died entirely. She froze. "No, we can't go that way." I pulled her close. "Then where?" She pointed toward the center tunnel, which looked identical to the others, except for a thin line of white light seeping through cracks in the far wall. "There," she whispered. "It's still open." We ran again, my breath ragged, but the further we moved, the more the air changed from hot and metallic to cold and sterile, like the hallways of a hospital. The walls smoothed out, the conduits replaced by seamless concrete. This place wasn't part of the school. This wasn't something any inspector or town resident would have known existed. This was built for secrecy. When we reached the source of the white light, Lily tugged my arm. "Stop." We stood before a door made of glass, frosted except for a circular window at eye level. Through it, I saw machinery panels, screens, surgical lights, some old, some disturbingly modern. My breath shook as a memory slammed into me without warning. A vague sensation, a flash of that same circular window, a similar room, but not recalling it as myself, recalling it as someone else was guiding me, forcing me to walk inside. "Daddy," Lily whispered, noticing my expression. "They took your memories so you wouldn't find this place." My heart dropped. Why me? Why my daughter? She hesitated, voice trembling. Because of what I could see. The door hissed open on its own. Cold air flooded out. Lily squeezed my hand once more before letting go, stepping several feet back. "You can look now," she whispered. My pulse thundered in my ears as I stepped inside, and there on a metal table illuminated by a harsh white light lay dozens of photographs arranged in a spiral. All of them were of Lily, all of them taken at different ages, but none taken by me. Not one. In one, she was laughing in a school hallway I didn't recognize. In another, she stood in a forest, staring directly into the camera with hollow, frightened eyes. In the next, she was older by at least 2 years, hair longer, face thinner. My breath broke. These photos weren't 8 years old. Some had been taken months ago. Weeks ago, then I saw the final photo at the center of the spiral. Lily in a hospital gown, electrodes attached to her temples, sitting in front of a circular metal device bolted to the wall behind her, the same shape, reflected in her pupils on the missing poster. Written beneath the photo, in thick black ink, were the words, "She sees what we can't." My knees nearly gave out. "Lily, what did they do to you?" She stepped into the doorway now, her outline barely lit by the white glow. They wanted to know how I could hear them. I stared at her, horrified. "Hear who?" She lifted her hand and pointed upward, toward the ceiling, but beyond it. The ones who aren't alive but aren't dead either. The ones in the walls, the ones in the ground, the ones who whisper to the ones they choose. Before I could speak, the glass door slammed shut between us. I lunged forward, pounding on it. "Lily." But she shook her head violently. "No, Daddy, you have to listen. They didn't just choose me, they chose you, too. They hid you from yourself. They changed your memories. They needed you to forget. The whispers returned behind her now, swelling like a rising tide, dozens of overlapping voices merging into one chaotic chorus. The hallway darkened. Lily pressed her palm against the glass. They're coming, and when they find you, they'll make you remember everything you helped them do. My blood froze. What are you talking about? I never, but the words died in my throat as another memory surged into me. Uninvited, unstoppable, flash of me standing in this very hallway 8 years ago, wearing hospital scrubs, guiding Lily into the room willingly. My breath shattered. Lily saw my face and shut her eyes in pain. This is why they hid the truth, she whispered, because you were the first one they chose, and I was the second. The lights behind her went out. The whispers rose into a scream, and the last thing I saw before the entire corridor plunged into darkness was Lily's silhouette pressed against the glass, her trembling voice breaking into a sob as she whispered, "Daddy, please remember before they do it for you."